Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, and I'm here to help you reach your potential as a leader and a human being. Welcome to Remarkable TV and the Remarkable Leadership Podcast. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, we are glad you're here. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. This episode, I'm helping you think about what to do with negative economic news. Are you ready? Well, let's get started. When you watch the news, you hear economic news, and often, because it's news, we hear the negative. And let's face it, if we were talking about how things were great in the economy, we wouldn't need this video and you wouldn't watch it. So we're talking about when we have negative stuff happening in the economy, or that's what the news is talking to us about. The question is, what do we do with that? Both as individuals and as leaders. And in order for us to be effective about it and with it as leaders, we've got to get this clear for ourselves first. So we're going to talk about both. Right. So negative economic news, what do we do with it? Here are some tips. Number one, and this is the big idea of this video, to remember always that macro doesn't equal micro. And what I mean is what's happening in the overall economy might not be what you are or will experience. And so don't immediately equate what's happening broadly or what people are predicting will happen broadly, that it will happen for you, because we have to remember too that those predictions aren't even always right. So we start worrying about stuff before it even is happening, let alone the fact that what's happening for us could end up being quite different than what happens in the overall situation. We can take any past downturn and find industries that did great even during the downturn, as an example. We can find organizations everywhere that are having no trouble getting the talent they want, even if overall there's a shortage of valued workers. So the macro doesn't necessarily equal the micro, which leads us to the idea that we should look at your situation and not read the headlines. Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't read the headlines, but I'm saying we need to always translate that to our situation. That's what's most helpful. That's what we need to do in our own head, and that's what we need to help our teams do as well. Next, don't obsess. Like, we're at this place because we've listened to the news. We want to be aware. We want to be forward thinking, all of that. But if we just keep listening to it, we start to obsess about it. Most of the news tends to take us down a negative path. So have knowledge, be aware, don't obsess. Next, look for opportunities. In almost every downturn, there are opportunities. What are the opportunities in your business? Maybe when there's an economic slowdown, you have the ability to help people cross-train, learn something new. Maybe there's a new product or service that you should be offering that you've not had time to work on. Now you do, or now introducing it might actually help you and your business. Look for opportunities. Next, focus on what you can control. Your ability to control or influence the larger economic forecast and predictions and realities are very small. So if we will instead focus on what we can control in terms of how we think about it and what actions we are taking, we have a much better chance of coming through them successfully. Next, discuss it with your team, firmly with your leader hat on. You need to talk about these things as a team because your team is wondering, your team is worrying, your team might be obsessing. So when we can open the doors and look at it together and help them do some of the things that I've been sharing with you, you have a better chance of success. And the last thing to do with negative economic news is this: move forward. The key word being move. If we stop, if we wait too long, if we become overcome with worry and concern and unable to move, there's little chance that we can adjust and make the changes that we might need to make in order for us to succeed or even thrive during a different economic season. So there's a number of things that you can do with negative economic news. Be aware, then get to work, would be how I would say that in short. Let me close with today's tweet. When negative economic news arrives, remember that your micro situation may not match the macro news. Then get focused on what you can control. Well, this was a different sort of episode. I hope you found it useful, maybe a bit inspiring, as well as a new perspective on things. That's what I try to do every week in my LinkedIn newsletter titled Remarkable Results. So if you spend any time on LinkedIn, I hope that you will connect with me and sign up for that newsletter. All the information is here or in the show notes. I hope you'll do that. And I hope you'll be back with me next week for another episode of Remarkable TV and the Remarkable Leadership Podcast.